All right, let us learn with God's help. Let us begin to learn the Rambam, Maimonides, laws of the Holy Temple. Laws of the Holy Temple. So this here it's on the left side, on the right side is the law in Hebrew, and here we have the laws of the translation in English. Okay, so here we have the introduction to the laws of the Beit HaBechira. Beit HaBechira means the chosen house. Beit HaBechira, it doesn't translate it. Beit HaBechira, this is the chosen house. This is the place that God chose to reveal himself. God chose to be. 6 commandments. 3 are positive, 3 are positive, and 3 are negative. What are they? You have to build a holy temple. That's the positive commandment. Number 2, you are not allowed to build the altar of the holy temple. There has to be an altar to make sacrifices on. The altar is not allowed to be built from stones that were touched by metal. There cannot be steps going up to the altar. It has to be a ramp. So here we have 2 negative commandments. 1 is about the whole building, you have to make one, and 2 are about the altar, because the altar is the main part of the holy temple, especially according to the Maimonides. So the altar had to be made from stones that were not hewn, and it had to be, how did they make it? They had this worm called the shamir. In any case, they had to also, going up to the altar, because the altar was where the fire was burning, they would throw the meat from the sacrifices there and burn it up. They would have to go up because it was high, but you had to go up on a ramp, not stairs. A positive commandment, you have to fear from the temple, revere, he says, the sanctuary. Sanctuary means the temple. The reason he's translating it sanctuary, because it's called a mikdash, it's called a holy place. It's a holy place. So, I mean, it's what is this? Sacred. Sanctity. Okay, that's what he wants to translate it. You should reveal, you should revere, you have to fear the holy temple. In other words, you have to treat it with a special awe and fear. You have to have guards. There has to be guards around the holy temple. And negative commandment, not to leave the holy temple unguarded. Mostly what we're going to be talking about is this first commandment, to erect, to build a sanctuary. I wouldn't exactly use the word erect. Okay. Erect seems to be that it's just, it's already prepared and you just sort of stand it up. That's all that's lacking. Right? You have to build a holy temple. Okay. It is a positive commandment to build a house for God. Why? In order to make sacrifices, there. And you have to go 3 times a year everybody has to go there 3 times a year for the holidays. And also any other times that you need to, but it's a mitzvah, you have to go 3 times a year. Like it says, a commandment, asuli migdash, you must make a holy house. In the desert, of course, it wasn't exactly a house. It was sort of like a house. I mean, it was a tent. And outside of the tent was the altar. So this whole entire structure was called a mikdash, a holy place. It's already explained in the Torah when they made the tabernacle that Moses made, but that was only temporary, because it said, Lo ba'ata matati, you have not come yet to the final place. Okay, since the Jews, let's see what it looks like just in the Hebrew. Let's see how it looks. Come on. It just has that half. I get it. No, good, okay. Since the Jews, as soon as the Jews went into the land of Israel, they made a Mishkan, right? They were in the desert for 40 years, wandering around in the desert, and they had the tabernacle with them. As soon as they came into Israel, so it would have been nice if they would have built the holy temple, right? But they couldn't build the holy temple. It's going to take them about 440 years to build the temple. The temple is only going to be built in the time of King Solomon. That's after King Saul was the king, and even after King David was the king. Only in the days of King Solomon. So until then, it was 440 years. Since the Jews came into the land of Israel, so they couldn't build the holy temple, so they set up the tabernacle. First of all, they set it up in, let's see if I can do this, huh? Will it go? Oh, yeah. Huh? Not too big. We'll have to get another version of this. Okay. Since the Jews went into the land of Israel, so let's go, there we go. Since the Jews went into the land of Israel, so they put this tabernacle in a place called Gilgal. And it was there for 14 years. 7 of those years, they conquered the land of Israel, and 7 years, they divided the land up. We talked about that before. We just finished talking about it. Ach B'Gorel with a lots. From there, it came to a place called, it was there for 14 years, right? From there, it went to a place called Shiloh. Shiloh was a little more permanent. Not only was it, okay, it was permanent. And they built over there a house. And it was a tent, but the walls were made of stone. Pershal of ureos, and there were skins that were spread on it. V'lo yasasham tikra, there wasn't any actual ceiling. So it was like an open building. But they had the covering was with these animal skins or with tapestries. How long was it there? A long time. It was there for 369 years. Right, so now we got 369 plus 14 is 379, 383. Huh? And Mishkan Shiloh was there. When Eli HaKohen died, it was destroyed. And they built it, and they came to a place called Nov. And there they also built a mikdash, another something like it was in Shiloh. And when Samuel died, now we're getting close, huh? Samuel, he was the one that appoints King David. He appointed King Saul also. When Shaul died, Samuel, the prophet, then Nov was destroyed, and it came to a place called Givon. And they built over there also a holy place. And Givon, it stood over there in the time of Saul, in the time of David, King David. And from there, no, not in the time of King Saul, I'm sorry, in the time of King David. And from there, it went to a place called Givon. And Givon stood in the time of King David. So it was 14 years in Gilgal, 369 years in Shiloh, long time. And then it went to a place called Nov. And from there, as soon as King Saul died, it came to, and it was around the time when Samuel died, and it was around the time when King Saul died also. King Saul wasn't a king that long. I think he was only a king for like a year. Then it came to King Solomon built it in Jerusalem. The days that it was right before Jerusalem, this was 57 years altogether. Since the Holy Temple was built in Jerusalem, and everywhere else was forbidden to build. It used to be in the time when the temple was in Gilgal, when they first came in, that people could make free will offerings in their backyard. It was what was called a bama. People could make free will offerings in their backyard if they wanted to. For the holidays, they would go up to the place, but they could make their own offerings. As soon as the temple was in Shiloh, when it was in Shiloh, they couldn't. And then it resumed again afterwards. But as soon as it was built in Jerusalem, then that's it. As soon as it was moved to Jerusalem, then the only place where offerings could be made was in Jerusalem. Since it was built in Jerusalem, it was forbidden everyone to build, everywhere else was forbidden to build a house to God to sacrifices. And there is no place for all the rest of the generations except in Jerusalem and in Har HaMoriah. And where is a place called Har HaMoriah? What happened in Har HaMoriah? Remember Har HaMoriah? Har HaMoriah was the place where Abraham took Yitzchak to sacrifice him. Har HaMoriah. That was like how much earlier? 700 years before that, something like that. Har HaMoriah. More, 800 years. Shabbat, like it said, something like it said, Vayomer David, like King David said, Zeh Mizbech, this is the altar forever. Zeh Mizbech La'ola L'Yisrael. This is the altar, in other words, this is it permanently for the offerings for the Jewish people. Va'omer, and it says, Zot Menuchate Ade'ad. This is my resting place, said God. This is my resting place forever and ever. The building that King Solomon built was already explained in the book of Kings. And also the building that's going to be built, the third temple. And when was the Rambam? The Rambam was like 900 years ago. So the Rambam was like 1,000 years after the temple was destroyed, the Rambam. And also the building that's going to be built by the Melech HaMashiach, even though that it's the details of this third temple are written in Yechezkel, Ezekiel. It's written there what's going to be the third temple, but it's not so clear. Lo mafurashim avor, it's not really clear. It just says that there will be such a thing, and it talks about it in general. And the people in the second temple, when they built the second temple, this was when Nehemiah came up with everyone, and afterwards came Ezra. This is in the days of Ezra. They built the second temple like the building of King Solomon, and like some of the things, they took some of the things that were expressly written in Yechezkel. Of course, this was all with Ruach HaKodesh, with the, okay, this is what the holy temple is made of. First of all, you have to make a Kodesh and a Kodesh Kadoshim. You have to make a holy and a holy of holies. Ready? Here it goes. This is the holy. This is the holy. This is a view from the top. This is the holy and the holy of holies. Let's say we have more pictures over here. Terrible pictures there I have over here. Okay, this is the holy and the holy of holies. And then there's a room before it. The holy has inside of it the candelabra and a table that has 12 loaves of bread on it, stacked up on 6 layers. And it has over here is a small golden altar. That's where they offered up the incense. That's called the holy. This is the same exact thing that was in the tabernacle in the desert. And you have to have, that's called the holy. Then you have to have what's called the holy of holies. That's where the ark was. Right, so maybe we can make this picture bigger, actually. Can we do it? Oh. Is this any good? Can we work with this? No, it doesn't seem we can. Okay, look, no, we can't do it. Not manipulate this. Okay, so this is the Holy of Holies and the Holy, and here's the altar. Let's go back. You have to have a holy place where that's where the incense and the candelabra is to light, and you have to have a Holy of Holies. And then in front of this holy, there has to be a place which is called the ulam. That's this. This is the ulam. Here's the Holy of Holies, the holy, and here's the ulam. And all these three things together are called the heichal. Shloshtem nikrin, they're all called together. They're called the heichal. And now then you have to make another division around the heichal, far away from it, which this is something like, if you remember, in the time of the tabernacle, there were curtains all around the whole entire business, right? There was the tent of meeting, in which there was the Holy of Holies, that's where the ark was, and then there was just the holy where the candles labra were. And then around the whole thing, there was curtains that made a big courtyard. That was called the Chatzer, just like it was in the desert. V'kol ha-makif mechitza shuk ein Chatzer, like it was in the Oel Moed, and this is all called the Azara. That's this. This whole business, see? This is called the Azara. The whole thing is called the Mikdash. So this, in other words, is called the Heichal. And this is called the Chatzer, or the Azara. Ooh. And the whole entire business is called the Mikdash. That's called, how we translate it is the sanctuary, the holy place. All right. Mikdash. And in this Mikdash, in this holy place, you have to make all sorts of vessels and altars and things like that. First of all, you have the main thing is, like we said before, you have to have a big altar. That's for the other sacrifices. That's over here. This, the altar. Then you have to make a kevish, the ramp that goes up onto the altar. Here, here's the ramp, right? Here's the ramp going up to the altar. The altar is pretty high. We'll see. We'll see all the measurements later. And this place is before the ulam, sort of like on the south side. See, this is the east. This is east and this is west. When you come into the Holy Temple, you're going from the east to the west. So the holier, the more west you go, the holier it gets, until finally you get to the Holy of Holies. And of course, not everybody can go in. Everyone can more or less go in here, but only the Kohanim can go beyond this point, and only the high priest can go into here. And here, this is the altar, this is the south side. This is south side. This is north. North is where they made all the sacrifices. There were rings here. They would tie the animals down so that they could sacrifice them properly. There had to be an altar. There had to be a ramp that went up, and the place of the ramp is in front of this ulam, like we said, in front of the room that was before the holy to the south. Then there was a kior and a kano. There was a place where the Kohanim could wash their hands and feet. They could wash, the Kohanim could wash their hands and their feet to serve God. And where was that? Between the ulam and the mizbeach. Let's look at the picture here. See, this is the kior. The kior was here, and the Kohanim would wash their hands. So here's the Holy of Holies. Here's the holy. Here's the place that's called the ulam. That's right in front of it. Then there's the place where the Kohanim would wash their hands and feet. In the morning, they would put their hand on their foot and wash the right one and the left one. Here is the altar. Here's the ramp in front of the altar. Right? Those were the essential things. Then there was an open courtyard. These were the essential ingredients of the holy temple. All these things are in, Then there is also an altar for burning incense. There is also three more things: an altar for burning incense. There is a candelabra. And then there is a table, which on this table are these 12 loaves of bread. And those three things are all in the Kodesh, in front of the Holy of Holies. Here, let's the picture. This is the Kodesh, and this is the Holy of Holies. So in the Kodesh, in the Holy, there is the menorah, the candelabra, that's over here. There is the table with the 12 loaves of bread on it. And there's the table with the incense. That's the golden altar. Gold, it's an altar, golden altar that has incense on it. And that is between the ulam and the Holy of Holies. So now we have basic ingredients for making a holy temple in Jerusalem. You have a little bit of an idea what it's going to look like. What's so complicated about it that we don't know what the third temple is going to be? We'll see. There's a lot of details, and God willing, we'll deal with it tomorrow. Hopefully, before tomorrow, the third temple will already be built. It said that according to, even in the Gemara, there's a Gemara in Sukkah, that the third temple is waiting. It's already, it's prepared, it's waiting to come down in Jerusalem. And immediately we can start. There's a strange law that it says that if a Kohen makes if a person makes a vow that he's not going to drink wine on the day that the holy temple is built, that he can never drink wine, because it could be that any moment the temple will be built. And a Kohen is not allowed to make that vow that he won't drink wine. A Kohen is not allowed a Kohen is not allowed to get drunk. That's one opinion. The law is not like that, but a Kohen is not allowed to get drunk, because a Kohen that's drunk cannot serve in the holy temple, and it could be that the holy temple will fall from heaven or appear from heaven. I don't know how it's going to be, and that the Kohanim will have to go and work, and it takes, like 24 minutes or something to get rid of the effects of liquor, of wine, and he won't be ready. He'll be like, in those 24 minutes, he won't be able to take his post. So he always has to be ready. So in other words, the holy temple could be built in one moment. So, and the Rebbe said that by means of learning the laws of the holy temple, it hastens its arrival. He also brought from a midrash that learn the laws, and it's as though it's being built. So here we go, my friends. Okay, so today we learned about the appointing of Joshua, and we learned a little bit about the beginning of the holy temple. See you tomorrow, God willing, at 8:15.